Alright, good morning, y'all. How's it going? We're back, and of course, we're here to talk a little bit about, NXT for the most part, but we're actually going to start, I guess technically we're still talking about NXT, as this is where we last saw Cedric Alexander. I only want to bring him up real quick simply because of the fact that I had a considerable omission from the last time I talked about him, in my video. It was, obviously a little bit after all of the releases had taken place, and I had mentioned him going to AEW. I had forgotten about the fact that there was the issue with his wife Big Swole and Tony Khan, specifically some things Tony Khan said about Big Swole. I'm not really going to go into any of that. I don't even remember what any of that was, but it got pretty bad from everything that I can recollect about that situation. Yet and still, as odd as that would be, I find that there's still a strong possibility that he winds up going to AEW. There seems to be a lot of momentum of the notion of him joining the Hurt Syndicate. But thinking about the Big Swole thing, I'm not so sure about that. But it seems like that's not going to be as big a deal. I don't know if there's something to where Tony Khan has apologized to Big Swole or this, that, and the third. They buried the hatchet or any of that. All I can say is that if and when this does happen, it's going to be very, very interesting to see. Hopefully, they start doing with him what they've been doing with everybody else in Hurt Syndicate, and really everybody else that they've brought in, whether it's been Ricochet, Cope, or, Mercedes, whoever else it's been, that's got to be where you have Cedric is in that category, because if not, then you're bringing him in to just be another guy, and we can't have any more of that. That's been too much of a thing, especially when you think about talents like Deonna Purrazzo, Taya Valkyrie. I mentioned Keith Lee the other day, and then of course there are your homegrowns such as Powerhouse Will Hobbs. I mean, when are we going to get Wardlow back, by the way? Of course, they've been talking about Undisputed Kingdom and the things that they've been going through as far as their changes. So, yeah, Cedric needs to be in the mix with that sort of thing. We need to be talking about him like that, should he go to AEW. He could end up in TNA, and that might fast track him back into WWE, but seems like AEW is the most likely scenario right now. And with that in mind, we're going to fast track over to talking about Roxanne Perez. I had to get this in real quick because this to me was actually wild. Unfortunately, I'm in one of those situations where I don't see NXT live as it's supposed to be at 6 Mountain Time. But when I saw the stuff on Twitter, I was like, oh my god. And it was just in that funny way because, if anyone's going to pull something like this off, I feel like Roxanne is perfect for it. And it drew all sorts of the great heat, even led to Cora getting the win over Bayley. And now Cora's in the match for the Fatal 4-Way of the Women's Championship at Vengeance Day. And I kind of felt like that's what they were going to wind up doing. It was either going to be that or maybe we fuck around and see Cora challenge Masha Slamovich just for the fuck of it. But either way, I gotta put this one over because this is just hilarious. I feel like, I gotta agree with Bayley and the things that she was saying to Roxanne. You need to get past this. She is too much of an amazing commodity. It's time for her to be on Raw. I'm assuming just because we got to keep the Bayley thing going. I mean, it's just due. It's just absolutely due at this point, and there's no other way to look at it. So from that, we gotta get in the big shit of the night, man. And this for me is incredible because once again, the Revolution will be televised. Yep, Ricky Starks. He made it to NXT, actually made his first appearance last night. They didn't say his name outside of the crowd chanting it. And, of course, he starts the promo off saying, obviously, you know who I am. I mean, how do we not know who you are, dog? All I'm going to say about this right now is money. Straight money. No matter what you have to say or think about it, it's money. And it's huge because I know I talked before, I was the one that put it out there. I believe that as of a couple of months ago, we should have been seeing Ethan Page on Monday Night Raw. I still believe that, but the fact actually remains, unfortunately, the main event scene for the men's division in NXT is a little bit lacking. I mean, you've got Oba Femi defending the title against A-Town Down on Saturday, or is it Sunday? Either way, that's what we're doing here. I mean, basically sidetracking everything with Trick Williams so that he can have a strap match with Eddie Thorpe, which I'm sure is going to be a banger, don't get me wrong. But obviously they're saving that for Stand and Deliver. I don't know any other way to look at that, but really and truly we need to start integrating this guy. If it turns out that Josh Alexander signs with WWE to go to NXT, we need to get him going. Obviously, him and Ethan Page, that's going to be some interesting shit right there. Really just a plethora of things that actually need to start being done that I don't know how much they're really doing that. I mean, granted, NXT, WWE, and with their working relationship with TNA, hottest product on the market right now, and it's probably not even close. I acknowledge that, especially when it comes to AEW, although I think AEW's starting to come around a little bit. But at the same time, there's something that needs to be said for the mistakes that have been made, not only with Ricky Starks, but obviously Miro, Malachi Black, and so many others that, you know, in a lot of ways, AEW might end up getting exposed with those mistakes. Yet at the same time, they're still on the they're still very much on the verge of recovering from that. It's just they got to do a lot of the things that they've been doing recently, specifically on Collision. Keep that going on Dynamite, and just don't stop that shit. Just keep that shit going full circle all the way through, and shit, even when the wheels fall off, keep it going. That's pretty much been the biggest problem with all the injuries that took place, and of course things like what happened with this man. You know, the wheels fell off a little bit too much, and AEW just couldn't get right. Now you got all, if not most of the big pieces back in place, and we should be seeing a completely different sight from what we've seen over the last couple of years with AEW. But for now, we're looking at Ricky Starks, what he's going to mean for NXT, what he'll mean for WWE, and it's just going to be nothing but huge. Now all that remains is we'll see what happens with Malachi Black and with Miro. Now, how soon do we see them back? Who knows? But I would anticipate those are going to be things we see either on the way to WrestleMania or we see them at WrestleMania. It's certainly going to be one of those things at this point, but I'll go ahead and leave it at that because I got to get to work here. Got a bit of an early morning, and that's why I'm getting on this now. With that in mind, I thank you very much. Jumping the gun on this. I'm trying to be so quick. But, yeah, let me know what y'all think. Y'all hype for Ricky Starks and really what else may be coming along. I mean, got a lot of good shit down the pipe. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. Pretty damn fucking good. But either way, y'all know what it is. Let me know what y'all think down below. Like, share, subscribe. And this has been your time with A&J. I thank you for spending it with me.